last 5 years, I've been advocating for the elimination of harmful traditional practices, especially female genital mutilation. Women are the strongest forces and untapped resources in the world because our cultures most times relegate them to the kitchen and the backyard. We also had the notion sometime that women's education ends in the kitchen. And so everything we do or we did in the past always what were done to ensure that women remain underneath the men. But the last 30 years has come to change the narrative, especially to empower women and girls. And one of many other things we are working against is female genital mutilation. And of course, it's very rampant in Iboin State. Female genital mutilation, as defined by the World Health Organization, is the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia for non-medical reasons. And then across the world, over 200 million girls and women have undergone and survived female genital mutilation. That's exactly the population of Nigeria at the moment. And it is estimated that about 3 million girls will be caught every year in Africa. That means in every 11 seconds, before I leave the stage, several girls will be caught across Africa. And it's not just an African problem. It also happens in some parts of the world, in Europe, in US. They bring them back to Africa, called a vocational cutting, to have them circumcised. The word there, circumcision, is what they have accepted to call it. And when I began the journey, I began to ask questions. Why do we perform female genital mutilation? Most people don't even know why it's performed. They perform it because their mothers did it, and then they have to continue doing it. Their grandmothers did it, it has to continue. And I got the most shock of my life when a man told me that women are vectors of diseases. And so you have to cut off the clitoris to be able to tame them. And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. There are three types of FGM. The first one is called clitoridectomy, the one they cut off the clitoris. The second one is called excision, the one they remove the labias with or with either the labia minora or the labia majora. The third one is called infibulation, the one they cut the labias and then stitch up the vagina for so that they won't be able to have sex to protect them from being raped and so to protect virginity in the second space, leaving little opening for menstruation and urination. It sounds distant when we talk about most of these practices. But when we bring it close, when we tell the stories and maybe mention the statistics, 200 million girls across the world, 3 million girls at risk every year, it sounds so distant. Imo State practices it, Ebonyi State does the same. And why are they doing this? To welcome these girls into womanhood. They tell them the lies that you have to become a woman to be able to lead the world. And so if you want to lead the world, you need to be mutilated. You need to be acceptable. You need to be culturally acceptable. You have to serve drinks to the kings and men if you are mutilated. So if you're not mutilated, you're considered unclean and you're not a member of the community. So it becomes problematic for us. But this is a culture we've come to accept, and it's a culture that people are fighting to keep. And that is problematic because girls and women are having difficulties when you go to the hospitals to give birth. They're having difficulties to have their vaginas expand during childbirth. And in the country, we have several fistula centers, and there's one in a Ebonyi State. Why? Because when you cut off the labia majoras or minoras of the ladies, it is very difficult for it to expand when the woman is trying to push out the baby. So we have obstructed labors, and sometimes, if not handled properly, it either tears down or tears up into the urethra or down into the anus. The woman starts leaking physics and leaking urine. And the same men who married these women and asked them to do the female genital mutilation will leave those ones at the backyard and marry new ones. So what is this exactly? So Chimamanda says something that culture doesn't make people, people make the culture. And then when we find that some cultures we've been practicing are actually keeping us on the ground, then we need to end it. And so that's why we are speaking up against these harmful traditional practices such as FGM. So over the years, we've worked hard to bring young people just like I am, or to bring men just like I am, to talk about these things. We've been having dialogues in communities, and one amazing thing that has happened is that a girl in Ebonyi State ran away from being mutilated at the age of 12 or 13, and it caused an entire clan, Izzy clan, to denounce the practice. That is what you want to continue having, because women can still be powerful without having their genitals mutilated. Women can still lead the world without their genitals being mutilated. I come from Ohafia, and we call people Ndi Ife. Ndi Ife means people of light. And we don't call a single person Onye Ife. Why? Because we believe that when people come together, they form the light. So what we do in Ohafia, we have what we call the age grade system. And what the age grade system does is to develop our communities as a group, men and women. So our roads are made are constructed by our people, our schools are built by our people. Why? Because we are light. We see ourselves as light. So if we have to if we have to end most of these practices, such as FGM, we have to come together to form Ndife, who are actually changing the cultures and changing the narratives. And I want to end with this. A woman is considered strong when she stands for herself. But a stronger woman is somebody who stands up for others. And then we are relatively building communities of Ndi Ife who are standing up together stronger to end most of these practices. So who are you? Thank you.